observability is everything. For me personally, I don't get something until I can see what's going on visually, and that's why I build the dev tools, because the dev tools actually show you how like chunks stream in, a tool call gets called, and approval gets sent.
Hello, welcome to devtools-fm. This is a podcast about developer tools and the people who make them. I'm Andrew, and this is my co-host, Justin.
So you are the creator of the Tanstack Dev Tools. Is that what you're working on? And working on Tanstack AI. We're really excited to chat about that. But kind of before we dig in, I know that you have ran a dev agency in the past, and obviously you're doing a lot of open source. Be kind of curious to see how did that happen? How did your career lead you to where you're at today?
Hey, yeah, my name is Alem, and I'm the creator of Tanstack Dev Tools and the co-creator of Tanstack AI. I actually started my dev agency like 3 years ago, mostly to do consulting and dev work and stuff like that. And yeah, I've been doing software development for like the last decade. And yeah, I decided to try my own thing, and I actually joined G2I like 3 years ago, and I found a job through them, and it was like for a Canadian startup, and I had a lot of fun there. And then I kind of built this cool abstraction on top of React hook form that was specifically built for Remix, because we were using Remix to like build the startup back then. And I just asked like the owner if it's okay to like open source it, and that's how I kind of spiraled out of control into open source and did all of the stuff I did. So yeah, that's my backstory on the dev agency side.
Yeah, the crazy thought we all have of, I can give away my code for free, and then we all just run to do it with all our free time is a very odd phenomena.
I always get a bad look from my wife when I work overtime on open source, but I'm like, yeah, but it's free.
Yeah. Are you working right now? No, I'm not working, unfortunately.
Yeah, technically it's just fun.
Yeah. Okay, so the first big thing that I think you got on most people radars for was the React router dev tools. It seems like there's a dev tools theme going on throughout all your projects, but could you fill us in on what the React router dev tools did?
Yeah, so that's kind of a cool story, because I always wanted to build like React dev tools, and I always hated the fact that like the Vue ecosystem had the best like dev tooling and stuff like that, and I was like always so jealous. And then after like working on Remix, I was like, okay, this is not like a huge project. Let me try to well, when I say huge, like it's brand new, and let me try to like build dev tools for this so I can understand it better and have a lot of fun. And I always wanted to build one of my own, and I gave it a shot. And like I first built the Remix hook form package, and then I built like a VS Code extension for Remix, and then I was like, okay, it's time for my magnum opus, the dev tools. And that's how I got into it, and I built it. And I'm not gonna lie, it was horrible. I kind of hacked into the internals of Remix, which caused a lot of like bugs and issues, and I even got in trouble with Kent, because I added it to the Epic stack, and then the Epic stack had like 10 bugs because of me, and then he threw it out. So the first versions were horrible, but the later ones were amazing. Yeah, and that's basically my story behind React Dev Tools, and they were actually Remix development tools before that. And then when they moved over to React Router, I just moved them over. But yeah, it's been a hell of a ride, and that's kind of yeah. And after building that, uh, I was like the guy who built the React Router Dev Tools, and then um over at Tanstack, people were talking about, so they have like router dev tools, they have query dev tools, and now they want to bring more dev tools. And how do you manage that on the screen, because they had two bubbles already? So you don't want to have 10 of them on the screen. So they wanted to build their dev tools on for it, and Corbin actually reached out to me and asked me like, hey, you build the React Router DevTools, want to help us build Tanstack DevTools? I was like, heck yeah. And that's how I got into building Tanstack DevTools.
That's a lot of fun. How's that experience been? Like, have you been able to like build the grand unifying like dev tool here?
Oh yeah, it's like super amazing because while I was building React Router DevTools, made a lot of mistakes, as I already said, and there were a lot of things that I thought were like okay, but there was a better way to do them, but I just didn't have the time to like start from scratch and do it all over again. And after like they reached out to me, I was like, perfect, I can start from scratch, build the perfect like layer of everything I need to build this, because I've already learned what I need and what it should look like, and now I can do it properly. And I did. And it's like this super crazy event driven system that like allows you to communicate between the client and the server like easily, and it's like so many things at once. And even I'm even looking into like adding an MCP server that lets you talk with your browser and stuff like that, so it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I was actually like literally just like 2 minutes ago thinking like, oh, an MCP server in the dev tools would be amazing because like if you have all of these dev tools that hook into this common interface for helping you understand your application, that sounds like a treasure trove of information for an LLM when it's trying to debug issues.
Yes, and that's like the next thing I'm working for DevTools. It's kind of close, it's kind of not. I just need to figure out like where to plug it and how to make it great for everybody. But yeah, I need to like talk with Tanner and the rest of the team to like figure it out, because they have a lot of other stuff for agents that we're working on that has not yet been revealed. So hopefully he won't kill me for saying it here. But yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
Maybe on that note, it'd kind of be cool to talk a little bit about Tanstack AI. I feel like Tanner and Co. They're just trying to like build all the things. So it was
Especially
like,
lately.
especially lately, yeah, yeah. So I would love to just hear more about like what is Tanstack AI, why was it built, like where does it land itself in terms of other tooling.
Yeah, so that's a really cool story because so after I joined, so I'm not really a long term Tanstack maintainer. I joined like 5 months ago or something like that. And I built the DevTools really quickly because I already knew how to do it. And it was almost a matter of like copy pasting the React Router DevTools and just fixing the bad parts. And even like React Router DevTools today is just built on top of Tanstack DevTools. So if you're using React Router DevTools, you're using Tanstack DevTools. And after I built that, I built it in like 2 months, I think, before we went into alpha with it. And this whole time, I've been trying to get into AI because I think that's really the future of development, and I think it's gonna like boost us to incredible heights. And I was trying to get into it, but I never had anything like concrete to do with AI. I don't work like for customers who use AI or something like that, and I don't have like my own SaaSes or anything that run on top of AI. So it was really hard for me to find a way to get into it. And then I thought, okay, maybe I could do Tanstack AI, and it was like a really bold idea, and I wasn't sure what's gonna happen and what the reception is gonna look like. And then I wrote it in some of our like private Tanstack channels for maintainers. And it turns out that Tanner already talked with like Jack Harrington, and they already were talking about like doing it already. And it's been like a month in the works. So they just said, yeah, sure, let's have you help Jack and do it. And that was like perfect for us because it allowed us to focus on two different fronts. He was like doing the communication between the server and the client, and then I was doing the type safety and stuff like that. So and the dev tools as well, because AI Tanstack AI has dev tools. And yeah, we kind of split in half and did all of this work in like a crazy amount of time. I think we launched alpha like after a month of just experimenting. And it's crazy what like AI allows us to do, because back then Opus 4.5 just came out, And before then, it was really hard to use AI in open source, because AI was like good, but it wasn't like open source level good. And it was usually like create slop and too much code and stuff like that. And then Opus 4.5 just blew my mind, and then I like started using it for Tanstack AI, and almost the whole ecosystem was built with Opus 4.5. It was just basically us like guardrailing it, like directing it and using it. And yeah, it's been such a crazy ride, and we've built so much with it. I mean, we built so much around Tanstack AI already, and I'm really excited for the future because we're cooking a lot of stuff. And yeah, it's been a really great journey, and it's been amazing. Like, even I keep saying this, like, I've never built anything that was like really popular. I've built a lot of libraries that grew popularity over time, but it was nothing like overnight. And I think we hit like 1K stars in less than a day, which was like mind blowing for me. And yeah, it's been crazy.
You're on two different types of rocket ships right now. One, just AI making things and you riding that wave, and then it getting really popular at the same time. So I don't think
Yeah.
we've done a good job of like actually explaining what Tanstack AI is and like what it does and how it fits into your workflow. So can you fill us in on how you might use the package?
Yeah, for sure. So Tanstack AI is, well, for the people who already know about like the AI SDK, it's just an alternative to the AI SDK built from the Tanstack team. It's basically allows you to do anything you want with AI. So it's like a middleman between your provider and your application. So it allows you to create agentic chats. It allows you to like generate images, generate videos, audio transcriptions, text to speech, and stuff like that. And you usually just pick your provider. So the provider is basically OpenAI, Anthropic, OpenRouter, whatever. You pick their adapters. This is what we call them. And for example, each provider has a lot of adapters depending on what they support. So, for example, OpenAI has a video adapter, image adapter, text adapter, yada yada, and then you just give it to the appropriate method from Tanstack AI. So, for example, if you want to chat, you say, okay, let me grab the chat method, let me grab the OpenAI adapter, put them together. I'm talking with OpenAI models, and it works like that. So, you want to generate an image. I grab the image adapter, I grab the generate image method, I put them together, I'm generating images. So, you can build anything like from like simple scenarios to something like T3 chat. It's really up to you what you want to build.
So there's a lot of folks who are operating in this space who are trying to build these like bridges, and I think they're going after the same sorts of problems. Is like you have all the providers and their APIs are different. And you kind of want a cohesive interface where you can like switch providers like relatively easily and not get locked into a particular provider SDK. I know that like Vercel in particular has like a very popular SDK, and like I think Tanner had this quote where it's like, you know, there's enough opportunity to improve on like what they're doing that it's like worth like doing your own thing. Can you talk a little bit about how it's like differentiated from some of the other like clients that exist out there?
Yeah, I think I mean, like, when you think of Tanstack, you think of type safety, and that's our main differentiator, because we really care about your type safety, and you can see it on something like model options. So what we do under the hood is we actually map a model to the options it accepts. So basically, for example, let's say you want to use GPT 5.2 and it supports reasoning. Okay, you can use the model options to send the reasoning config. And for example, you later on figure out, okay, this is really expensive. Let me move to, I don't know, GPT 3.5 or something. And that model doesn't support reasoning. Well, you just switch the model, but we actually tell you, like at compile time, hey, this doesn't work. This model doesn't support reasoning and stuff like that. And that's just one of the things. we are already working on stuff like the type safety on structured outputs and tools. So, for example, if it's really a lot of mix and matching. So, for example, a lot of OpenAI models have support for their own tools like web search and code execution and stuff like that. But for example, I don't know. I'm just gonna give random models, but that's not maybe true for them. So, for example, if GPT-5.2 supports web search, maybe GPT-5.1 doesn't, and then if you send that tool over, that's not gonna work and stuff like that. So we're also working on actually telling you at compile time, hey, this tool is not supported by this model and stuff like that. So that's where we want to differentiate, where you really don't have to go to the docs, you really don't have to Google what each model supports or ask an LLM. It's right there in the code. So as soon as you type the model, you have everything typed for you, and that's it.
So with that in mind, like having that like nice type safety experience, that kind of like that really limits your options on like API shape and like how the user interacts with your library. So like, can you tell us about your journey of like trying to find a good API for all of this that works and satisfies all the constraints you guys are trying to hit?
Yeah, so that's been a hell of a ride. So we actually, before we even launched, we were playing with the idea of having like so for example, if you look at Vercel AI SDK, they have generate text. It's not generate text, or maybe it is. I can't remember the name, but it's like stream text and generate text, I think. And then the other ones for structured output. And while looking at that, we wanted to build something that works for like both the object oriented approach and like functionality approach. And we were playing around with an API that's basically like a class that you construct everything, and then you just call stuff like chat and text and stuff like that. But that didn't work for us because we also care about like bundle splitting and sharing everything that you don't want to use, and classes are not a great way to do that. So we threw that in the trash, and we had a lot of like experiments under the hood that we would build, be really excited about, and then say, okay, this doesn't work for X or Y. And we actually wrote a lot of blog posts on Tanstack about this, where we actually had this like super cool magical method called AI, and it did everything. So basically it did image generation, text generation, chats, whatever. It did everything. And the only difference would be you just provide a different adapter, and then under the hood it like adapts the API of what you're using to match what it should be. And sorry. And that was like really cool, and it like looked super awesome, until you kind of got under the hood of it and you saw like 20 TypeScript overrides, which could never match perfectly. And then we said, okay, let's try it with like inference, where you would like infer, okay, if this adapter is inferred with this and it extends this, blah 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 blah. Let's constrain it like that, and that kind of worked. And we then wanted to build composability into it, where you could like create the options somewhere and then import them and provide them to your chat option. And as soon as we did that, it all fell apart. It was literally impossible to like type. And then we said, okay, this is just not worth it. Let's just be very simple about it, have at maximum like 2 or 3 overloads, and that's it. And that's what we did in the end, and that's why we have multiple adapters per functionality plus multiple methods. That allows us to like easily bundle shake it. It allows us to build better type safety on top, and it all works great.
So you only need or tree shaking if your things are running on the client. What does it mean for this to run on the client versus this to run on the server?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. We just don't want to give you code that you're not gonna run anyways.
Mm,
I know it doesn't matter on the server as much. It's like your bundle, just give it, run it, and that's it. So it's not a bigger concern, but we just care about like having the minimal footprint possible, at least to be like SEO friendly.
mhm,
But yeah, on the client it also matters. But on the client there are other ways of getting around this, and I don't think anybody does a bad job at like splitting it on the client. So it's not like I think the main differentiator on the client side is not really the bundle size, but rather the type safety as well. Because the way we did tools was we created definitions, and then we have and then we use those definitions on the client to basically give you ultimate type safety on top of the use chat method, where you actually know what tools are available, and then you know the inputs, outputs, and stuff like that. So it's really easy to use. But I don't think that the bundle size is gonna be the main differentiator there.
That's cool. Um, I saw a tweet on like announcing like AGUI compatibility. I don't fully know what that is, but I have heard of like MCP UI and like a lot of like protocols for agents defining, UI components for the front end. And I'm curious like what that is, and sort of like as you're thinking about integration into the broader ecosystem, what's y'all's strategy been there?
Yeah, I think that this is kind of our main strategy. So AGUI is an open source protocol made by the team behind Copilot Kit. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically it's very similar to Tanstack AI, but just a little bit more fleshed out. They give you a runtime on the server, and they give you client side components that hook into the runtime, and then you can basically stream over events from the server to the client and vice versa. And it allows you to basically build agentic experiences. It's all like event based. So for example, you can subscribe anywhere to anything, and like register your own the components in, like, for example, let's say you render 5 components. They each have a hook that registers some tool call. All gets like bundled up together and then creates this amazing chat experience. But that's what Copilot Kit is. But AGUI is their open source protocol that allows people to standardize communication between the server and the client, and also between agents and between like an agent and the server. And what AGUI allows us to do is basically, let's say, you don't want to use Tanstack AI for the backend. You want to use something else, Python, PHP, whatever, and then use something like, let's say, Laravel AI, and let's say Laravel AI supports AGUI. Well, the cool thing is, because we are built on top of a standard, as soon as you start streaming the events from Laravel AI to the client, and let's say Tanstack AI is the client, because the events are standardized, there's no need for you to build like another layer that like translates the events from Laravel AI to our side. It's just standardized, and you just listen to the events, and that's it. And that's why we switched to AGUI, because the ecosystem is huge, and a lot of people are using AGI, like Mastra, Langgraph, and a lot of other like huge AI projects. And we just want to standardize with everybody, and that way it's easier for people to like pick the client side, pick the server side, and like pick what they want to use to build the AI agentic experience.
Is there overlap here with Vercel's JSON render library? It seems like there might be like a little bit, but I'm not sure how.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into what I was saying earlier. So AGUI is an open source protocol for communication between the server and the client. And they also have an open source protocol for communication between an agent and an agent and stuff like that. So there are a few protocols, it's not just one.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
one of those protocols is an alternative to JSON renderer, and it's also used by Google. So, for example, if you want to build a standard on top of the Google standard, you're gonna use the one built by Copilot Kit. If you want to use only the Vercel one, you're gonna use Vercels. So that's kind of the difference.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Confusing naming. Yeah,
Yeah,
putting UI in the name and it not being really about UI at all is an interesting move.
yeah. I think it's like agent to UI, so it's AGUI. At
Yeah,
least I
user
actually have to check
interaction
that
protocol.
because yeah, that's actually a good point because I was also confused as to what it is when I first started. So I fully understand your confusion there.
Yeah, but it's nice that a standard is being adopted throughout all of this, so that there's like this
Yes.
huge bloom of tools, and at least they're not all creating their own specifications, and they can match up in that like server client agnostic way. That seems pretty powerful.
Yes, and it's like everybody has their own different like background and tech stack and stuff like that, and it's like super important to standardize because if everybody comes up with their own standards, it's like the wild west, and it's like it becomes super hard for you to just use the tools you want to use. And then you, for example, have to, let's say you want to use the Vercel AI SDK on the server. Okay, now I have to use their standard. And then, for example, you want to use Tanstack AI. Okay, I have to use their standard. And then you have to use LangGraph. You have to use their standard. And if there's a standard that's actually a standard, then you
Yeah.
can just use that and then pick. Okay, I want Tanstack AI for the client. I want Vercel AI SDK for the backend. I want another service that uses LangGraph that talks with both of those, and you can just like build whatever you want on top of a standard.
That's pretty cool. There's also an A2 UI standard, which is very different and very
Yep.
similar name. We just need to improve the namings of the standards. The standards are cool. The
Yeah,
names could use some love.
I think A2 UI is the alternative to the JSON renderer, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, more about just like rendering UI from an agent
Mhm.
versus like communicating events. Yeah. Cool. So one of the hard things about this sort of like agentic world or working with AI tools is just like understanding what's going on. Like observability is still like a tricky. I know you've done a lot of work on DevTools, and obviously I'm sure that's carried over into how you're thinking about Tanstack AI. So when you're thinking about observability and like how people are tracing what's going on the system, especially if it's like crossing client server boundaries, like are there any like special things that y'all have done to make that easier? Like what's the approach been?
Yeah, so that actually reminds me of another thing that differentiates Tanstack is that we don't really care what transport mechanism you use. So we allow you to basically we give you the chunks and you can either send them via server sent events, via WebSockets, via standard fetch, whatever. It's really up to you. And I think that's really important because, like I said, you don't really know what the tech stack that people are gonna use is. So it's really useful to like not constrain people to use, for example, server sent events, because if they have some sort of environment constraints where they can't use that, they have to use WebSockets, you're already not a viable choice for them. So I think that's really important for us. And I think, like you said, observability is everything. And that's why we built the dev tools from day one, because for me personally, I don't get something until I can see what's going on visually, and that's why I built the dev tools, because the dev tools actually show you how like chunks stream in and then what's going on, and a tool call gets called and approval gets sent, blah blah blah. And I think there's still a ways to go before I'm fully happy with it, where it's like super transparent and clear what's going on, because at the moment it's kind of uh, uh, going for convenience rather than like details, where you just see the main things that you care about, but it's not like nitty gritty in the details. And I want to get to that point where you can switch between, so you can actually like see every chunk and every detail and what's going on. And I think that's really important and really easy to build with Tanstack DevTools, because I kind of built them for this specific purpose, where you just like fire events, and the observer just listens to them and just does whatever you want. And we have the system in place for it, we just have to build it. And I think that's like the most important thing, especially when you're getting into it, because it's such a huge field. It almost feels like, for example, before you would be like a front end specialist, a back end specialist, develops, whatever. And this is such a huge field, you can just say like you're an AI specialist or whatever, and it would make sense because it's like so much to grasp and understand what's going on, and it keeps changing every day. It's just like a field you can just go into and specialize and not do anything else, and you're like set. So yeah, I think that this is gonna be really important for people who are just coming in and have no idea what's going on, because the barrier to entry is huge anyways. Because if you're either like a front end specialist, back end specialist, you have to understand the other side. You have to understand the protocols, how it all communicates with the providers and stuff like that. So it's already really hard to get into, and we just want to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in being able to see like exactly what the LLM's doing. Like my especially when it comes to coding tools, if I'm not seeing like what the LLM is thinking, that's a loss for me. It's the same thing with like skills versus MCPs. Like I like MCPs way more just because like they're so explicit and like I can see tools being called, I can see inputs and outputs, I can like follow along. So yeah, lots of value there.
Yeah, I agree.
Another cool thing that's happened recently is so Cloudflare shipped like some Tanstack AI support, so you can kind of use it with their Workers AI platform. But that's like that's huge, right? This is like this very
Yeah.
big service provider like acknowledging that like, hey, this thing's cool. You should use it with our platform. I bet that felt great. Have you seen other companies starting to adopt it, and like what's that been like?
Yeah, so it's been crazy because I think it was last week on Monday, I think. Sunil, the guy who actually made the support for Tanstack AI, he posted something about Vercel AI SDK on Cloudflare, and then I just said like, "Hey, are you gonna do Tanstack AI support?" And and he just DM'd me and said like, "Oh my god, I love Tanstack. I'm gonna do it right now." And he finished it in like 2 or 3 days. I was like, "Wow!" And yeah, he launched it like last week, and there were some internal delays that launched it on Friday, but he finished it in like 2 days. Like the man's a legend. And it's been so exciting, like to see companies excited about Tanstack AI. And I gotta say, the first company that was really excited and like reached out to us right off the bat to like work with us and launch their adapter was Grok. And those guys were amazing, and they like supported us from day one, so that was really cool for us. And like the hardest part for us, I mean, it's not the hardest part. You just cash out the money, but basically, like getting access to all these models um, can be expensive, and it's like super cool when an AI company that's excited about the product just says, "Hey, here's I don't know, at least like $20 of tokens. Like go wild, figure out our models." And create an adapter, and then, like I said, Grok has been amazing with this, and open router as well. Like really great guys, really helped us a lot, helped us test their stuff out, build the adapter for them. And that's like one of the biggest ones we have because they support like everything. So if you want to, I really love their product because it really allows me to play around with different models and get a feel of like what's fast, what's slow, what can I use for something. And it's like really helped me with building Tanstack AI, because it if I want to try, for example, OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, I have to like go service by service, buy 10, $20 of tokens, and then just keep switching. And this way I can just like buy $10 and then just try all the models and say, okay, this one is good, this one is bad, I like this one for this, I like this one for that. So that's been a really great experience for me as well. And yeah, it's been a great journey. We're seeing a lot of support, and it's still in early alpha. So I don't think that companies are excited as they could be, because it's still like unstable and it's not on the right radar and stuff like that. So I think the future is gonna be a lot brighter than it is right now. But yeah, I just can't complain about anything.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for these companies to help you guys out because it's like we just want to provide models. You guys can care about the DX and making it a nice experience.
Exactly.
Um, so uh you guys support a lot of different ways to interact with the models. Does that come with like things that are harder? Like there's video generation. Do you have to deal with like streaming the video or do you like care about the UX like based on the type of media that you're generating, or is that kind of all like do the models themselves prevent a lot of that from happening?
Yeah, it's been interesting because, for example, video generation is something that Vercel AI SDK doesn't support yet. And this was something that we wanted to add in because we really wanted to do video generation because we think it's really cool. And we had a lot of talks about how to do that. And I think where Tanstack AI really shines is the stuff that's not chat, because there's a lot of type safety there that's really nuanced and really cool. And for example, when did we launch this? A few days ago, we launched the file.ai adapter, and they have like over 1,000 video and image models. And this guy Tom from Australia really helped us build this, and it basically constrains, for example, the sizes, the resolutions, the output quality, and everything. So you can't really make a mistake there for over 1,000 models, which is like really cool. And it's like really difficult to do because usually every model has its own like constraints on sizes, on the aspect ratio and stuff like that. And I think we really hit it out of the park with this. And every time I want to do some sort of demo with like image generation or video generation, I really love using Tanstack because it's like so simple to do, and I don't really have to like I said, we bring you the all the model knowledge into your code base, so I don't really have to go check what the size is for VO3 or whatever you're using. VO3 is an image model, but you get the point. And that's really cool, and you can like really easily use Tanstack for a lot of stuff. So for example, what I've used it for is so I'm also a YouTuber. I'm not sure if anybody knows that, but basically I create a lot of content. And the worst part for me is once I'm done editing and everything, I have to go through the video, like create chapters for YouTube. So for example, from minute 150 chapter this, from 328 chapter this, blah blah blah. And then I have to like figure out a copy for every social network, and then like it takes me like an hour or two to do. So what I built for myself is I have like a Docker image of Whisper locally, and then I have a script that uses Tanstack AI, and it transcribes. So first of all, I grab the audio from the video that I've made, I transcribe it, and then I send it over to an LLM. It makes the copies for the socials. It makes me the chapters for YouTube, and I've automated everything. So now I just copy paste it into YouTube. I just like read through it. I correct the parts I don't like, and rinse and repeat. And like, there's so many things you can do with Tanstack AI that's like really exciting. It's not like, hey, I can just build chat interfaces and chatbots. It's like you can do anything you set your mind to, and it's really up to you what you want to do.
One of the things that I noticed, the sort of like last blog post that y'all published about Tanstack AI, and I think it's related to the video thing you were just talking about, is y'all have broken down the adapters into separate packages. Or is it in the same package still, or is it just like separate modules that they're broken down into?
Yeah, it's in the same package. It's just a
Okay.
separate module.
Great. So you've broken those down, which make total sense, right? So it's like if you're using an agent just for chat, not paying the weight of video, for example, like all the configuration, everything that goes with that, like makes total sense. has that like unlocked anything for y'all? Is that enabling anything in the future? And is like, I don't know, when you're thinking about how you build uh, like a library like this that seems like it could have such broad applicability, you know, as like more models add new capabilities, it's like it could get like pretty big. Like, how do you think about organizing, you know, the capabilities and like, so what makes it into Tanstack AI versus like, oh, I actually want to publish a different package for this?
Yeah, so I think that's the most important part for us, and that's actually why we broke it up into adapters. And I'm just gonna explain the story behind it right now. So how it all started. So we are a team of two people. It's me and Jack, and we get some help from the community and stuff, but it's mostly the two of us. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm like overwhelmed. I'm not just maintaining AI, I'm maintaining dev tools and like 10 remix packages. So I just don't have enough time to do everything. And what's really important for us was like to figure out a way to make this scalable. And how we did that was splitting up the adapters. And why we did that is the following. So the initial structure that we launched with the initial alpha had this base adapter that was supposed to have everything, so images, videos, transcription, whatever. And that's not like a big problem besides the fact that you get a lot of that code. But the biggest problem with that was uh, it had 8 generics built in for chat alone. Now imagine adding images, videos, transcription, 5 different things, translations, whatever comes out in like a year, and that just isn't scalable for us, because that first of all means that whenever we want to add, for example, so we've added everything right now because we did this structure. But imagine if we didn't have like images, video, transcription, and whatever, and we now wanted to add images, but we had providers like OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok, OpenRouter, whatever else. Let's say there was 30 of them. Now imagine if we added image functionality and now we have to go through 30 adapters and support images or throw in that specific method because it implements the same adapter. It would be like a hell of a thing to do to add a new functionality. And that's why we decided to split these things up, because now we have like teeny tiny adapters that's really easy to build. And what this allows us to do is, for example, let's say we want to support a new provider. Let's say it's Grok with a Q. And now what we have to do, let's say they support video, they support images, they support audio, they support whatever. And let's say we just want to support text for now. We can just build this small adapter, launch it, and then for example, you care about videos, you're gonna add the video adapter. Somebody else cares about images, they can add the image adapter. And it's like really easy for us to review because it's like a teeny tiny PR. It's really easy for somebody to add because it's very tiny, and that's why we decided to split the adapters up, because that's the only way we know how to like be able to scale this and easily like merge PRs and review them and like get the community support on this, because it's not like we have like a team of 10 people who are paid to work on this full time. It's just us working on weekends. So it's really important for us to have this power where we can move forward without like requiring mountains to be moved to get a new feature in. And that's the architecture we aim for here.
So, as we wrap up here, we always like to ask some future facing questions, and it seems like the future is your oyster here. The project is still pretty young and there's still lots to do. So, what can we be on the lookout for from Tanstack AI?
Oh yeah, there's so many things on the way. I think so. A few things to like name off the top of my head is like middleware. So we want to support middleware where you can basically hook into the whole process. So from chunks to responses to requests to whatever. So that's the first thing we want to look into. Then MCP support to allow you to easily build MCP servers. Then we want to do there's this cool API that we're kind of churning in internally and like trying to figure out. I kind of called it execution workflow because that's kind of what it is, which allows you to like add retry functionalities, use fallback adapters and stuff like that. So some really advanced use cases, more providers like Grok and stuff like that. And yeah, there's so many things we want to do and so little time, so we have our hands full, and every day there's like 20 new things in AI, so it's like it's very hard to keep up with everything. So yeah, there's ton of work for us to do, so keep an eye out and just keep following what we're doing.
Well, thanks for coming on. That wraps up our questions. This was a really interesting dive into the AI work you guys are doing. I'm personally going to integrate it on my project right after this just to see what gains I can get. So thanks for coming on and talking about it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was like a really great time. And yeah, I discovered lately that I love doing podcasts. So I was really excited to talk with you guys because it feels like a talk with your friends and it just gets posted online. So it's really cool. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It was like a pleasure meeting you and talking with you guys.
Yeah, love having you. And super excited about what you're working on, and gentle reminder to like take care of yourself, because open source is hard, and open source is especially hard when there's people using a million AI bots to create issues and file bogus PRs and whatever else they're doing. So thanks for the work. Take care of yourself. Make it sustainable.
Yeah, that's always the goal.